Hello and welcome to Windows Form tutorial. This is an excellent tutorial for the beginners. Here is the list of the things you will be learning at the end of the tutorial. So the core concept of design and code is blended in Windows Form. You get introduced with many fundamental programming concepts, and Windows Form is the basic user interface framework that will lay the structure of Windows Presentation Foundation WPF that creates advanced desktop and client application. In a nutshell, it's a very good stepping stone, and at the end of the tutorial you will see something like this, a picture viewer with some buttons and a checkbox. So let's get started. So starting from step 1, we are actually creating a Windows Form app project, and when you open up a Windows Form app project you will have a Form 1 by default. So the step 1 is to name the project. We have to make sure we are having the right format of the project. So we are creating a Windows Form project in C#. We need to make sure, and we need to rename it for Pictureviewer. Is to wait for the file to open. As you open the file, you see by default you got this Form 1. We'll rename it later on. So here on the left hand side we're gonna bring the toolbox, which is the key element. So we'll find all the elements we need in here, toolbox, and you can simply collapse by clicking this triangle, and they all categorize, or you can simply use the search box just like I'm doing now to find out your desired elements in your form. So adding something in your form is fairly simple and easy. Just double click it. When you double click the form, you will see the code behind it. We will go through the code later on, but for now we'll concentrate on the right hand side here, Solution Explorer and the properties. When you click in the properties, you will see all the elements, but for now what we are going to do is to just change the name of the form as Picture Viewer. We can see the size here, size of the form. You can drag and change it. So the next thing we're going to do, we are going to run our app. You can do it by simply pressing the F5 key, or you can go here in debug on the menu bar and click debug. We also have a icon where you can click and see your debug. So our picture viewer is running, but it's simply doing nothing at the moment because we haven't added any elements. Setting our form properties is the next step we're going to follow. We actually changed the name of our form already, which we're supposed to do it right now actually. You can drag and change the size of the form by just dragging the handles on the corner, and you can run the app. You can see that the size has changed. So the next thing, we're going to add some element in our form. So the first thing is the table layout panel. So you can double click, and you can see immediately it appears to our form. It's actually in container group. So this is actually a container for your form, and we're going to change some stuff in the properties. We right click and you can see the properties on your right hand side. If you don't see it, just right click it. You can see the properties options, and we're going to fill the whole form. You can go to the dock of the property and fill the form fully by clicking this. So as you can see, we have the layout panel and we have the field selected, the size of the column and the size of the row as directed in the tutorial. So I'm just following the instruction here. I'm making the columns 15% and I'm going to change the column 2 as 85%. So you can see the change, the layout has changed. The next thing I'm going to do is to change the row to make it exactly look like this. So we have edit rows, select the rows and just make it 90% and 10%. Now we have our form just like in the tutorial. We are going to follow the next step is to add some controls in. So now we are going to add a picture box into our form. We head to our toolbox and just double click the picture box. Next we're going to change the picture box property. We're going to undock to the parent controller. We're going to add a checkbox. We're going to name this checkbox stretch. Just going to copy and paste it. And next thing is to add a flow layout panel. So you add a flow layout panel. It's also a container that arranges other containers. So we're going to add the buttons. So in this container we are going to add the buttons, our 4 buttons. So at this point we are going to name our 4 button controls. We need to give them a meaningful name according to their functionality. So there are 2 properties that we need to change here. First the text property and the name property. Remember, in the name property you cannot leave any space. So we are using the camel case convention of programming. You probably know from console application in C#. So we just need to follow all the steps for all the buttons here, and then we are ready for the next steps. So starting with the small letter of the button, what it does, and we just simply add the type. So for the close button, in the text we say close. Name button we just say close and then btn with the B capital. And then we set our auto size property to true for all the buttons. Make sure you select them all and just hit true for auto size. We also change the fixed direction from right to left. So at this point we are going to enable a open picture files and choose a background color. So we're going to add open file dialog component and a colored dialog component into our form. A component is a control in a way we use it from our toolbox the same way, but it's different because it's not visible to our form. We need to change 2 properties of our open file dialog box, and the filter property and the title property. So up until now we haven't done anything about coding. So this is the stage where we start the coding. All the 7 stages we have done before these steps are pretty simple and easy if you have basic computing skills, but this is where it gets a little bit tricky. At this point we are actually introduced and encouraged to use an IntelliSense to enter the code. So basically it's asking you to type the code rather than copy and pasting it, which I did, and it worked very well. This is how you actually write the code. This is how you get used to of writing the code. So we are going to double click on show picture button, and immediately you see the form .cs is opened, where we can change our code. Here we're going to write a line of code with if statement. So we're going to write if and then opening and close parenthesis with open file dialog1, that's our component, dot show dialog, and then close the parenthesis and equal dialog result dot OK. So I try practicing writing the code exactly from the tutorial, and you can do the same. And when you start typing the code and when you hit the dot, you will see different kind of option is coming for you, and you choose the approve. You notice I made a mistake here, and that's why the line is showing red. So I suppose I just have to add another equal sign to make it right. So as soon as I make an equal sign, you will see the red line disappears. Now we're going to add the block of code inside our if statement, which is in the curly brackets. So we're going to call the picture box 1 dot, and then we're going to say load, and then within the parenthesis we're going to add the open file dialog1 dot file name. So when you hit the dot, you will see the top options are coming, and eventually you will have no error in the code if you type the code just like I'm doing. So our first button is done. Now we are going to run the app and see. Yes, so when you click here, show picture, immediately you can see you have the file browser open. So you can click one of these files and our picture viewer is working. Now the next thing, we have to work on the other buttons. So at this stage, we're going to review, comment, and test our code. So a comment is a note that doesn't change the way the app behaves. So it makes it easier for someone who is reading your code to understand what it does. So adding a comment into your code is a very good habit that we all should develop who is beginning the journey of writing code. And this allows other people to understand what the line of code does. So by adding 2 forward slashes, you can mark a line as a comment in C#. You can easily differentiate the comment by the color of it. So when you see the double forward slash and the green line, that is comment. At this stage, we're going to write the code for additional buttons and checkbox. We've only done for show pictures. We need to do the code for the other buttons. So here we're going to do one by one. So let's begin by clear button. We're going to write the comment first. You can write whatever you like. It's just to demonstrate that we understand how the comment works. So we're going to add picture box 1 here, image equals none, and semicolon to end. So this one will clear the picture, clear the form basically. So you click here, you set a background color. So let's run the app now and see if our buttons is working. So we're going to select the show picture, click here, select something, open it, and hit clear, and it disappears. So clear the picture is working. Check this one, close button, and this is the simplest one. It's just this dot close, opening closing parenthesis followed by the semicolon. Next thing we're going to do, change the background button. It's basically changing the color of the background of our form. So what we have to go to appropriate place where the background button click event handler is. You can double click here and you can access it as well. So we're going to go here So we are going to start by commenting our event handler to describe what it does. Again, we are going to write an if statement to make this button work. So if, and then we need to write within the parenthesis color dialog. This is the other component we have added. We have added file opening component and the color dialog component. So color dialog 1 dot show dialog, and then again opening closing parenthesis equals dialog results dot OK, and you finish it off by closing parenthesis. And the next line we're going to add picture box 1 dot back color equals, make sure it's equal, it's not equals color dialog 1 dot color, and then we finish it off with a semicolon. So let's hit this set background color, and you can see we have a choice of color we can choose, and we can use the close button to close the app. Final thing we have to do is this stretch checkbox. So we need to change the code for the checkbox. When you double click, you get to the right place. We're going to start commenting the checkbox to show what it does in a few lines of comments. They're all single line comments. And then we're going to write a if statement. So it starts with the if, and then open and closing parenthesis checkbox 1 dot checked. So if the checkbox 1 is checked, the next line is picture box 1 dot size mode equals picture box size mode dot stretch image semicolon, else picture box 1 dot size mode equals picture box size mode dot normal. We ended up with semicolon as well. So basically it's saying if checkbox this one is checked, the picture box size mode will be stretch image, and the else the picture box size mode will be normal. Now we reach to the final step 11, where we run our Pictureviewer app and try the other features. So we have added the buttons, checkbox, picture box, different layout panels, and let's try it out. We can set a background color to orange. We can choose a picture like this, and let's try the stretch image. So we can stretch any image. The checkbox works, and we can clear it. If you find this video educational and entertaining, please leave me a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.